why do you want to import? It's not a big rocket science technology. India is the global leader, is after China in pharma. We are exporting almost 80% of our US requirements in terms of formulations, which is much more complex technology. US FDA approved plants, all the CGMP requirements, huge complex chemistries, right, in API manufacturing, we are able to do that. If you compare to that complexity of manufacturing, protein manufacturing is not even 100th. It's a very, very simple process.
Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Alternative Protein Innovation Center?
Great. Again, thank you for coming and giving me this opportunity to introduce our facility and what we do here. I am Pranesh, and more formally Dr. Pranesh. I have been in the protein nutraceutical industry close to about 30 years. Okay, I started with SmithKline Beecham those days, before it became GlaxoSmithKline, in Bangalore, in Devanalli, when we had a plant where we used to make Horlicks, which is still there by the way. And I was handling as a product executive. I started my career post my MBA with a brand called as Nourish, which was a protein brand, which is no more there in the market, but it was a good brand those days. So my proteins journey started really 30 years back, and it's been in various companies in various capacities handling proteins. But early part of the career was mostly in the medical side of proteins. It was like for immunocompromised patients, cancer patients, nephrology patients, diabetic protein. Diabetic protein came quite later, but early part it was more, and then maybe some amount of pediatric population. That's how it began, the protein journey. But those days it was still not the hype of protein, which is the current decade we call as the decade of proteins. But those days it was more like a supplement for the medically immunocompromised patients, weak patients, those kind of things. But slowly when the industry evolved to address the protein need of the larger population, I also started changing. So we started working on proteins from my stint in Dabur, where we worked on a particular plant, fungal kind of protein.
Sorry, so the proteins before that for specific medical needs, what was the base for those?
Predominantly those days it was peanut protein.
Okay.
Soya protein was there, but in medical patients we avoided soya protein. The reason, of course, was two. One, those days peanut protein was accepted in the medical fraternity. One, because soy allergy and those things were a concern. Second, even so, those days, I mean like 30 years back, there were one or two manufacturing plants in India, towards Bombay, who used to make peanut protein. Okay. And Pfizer had the technology those days, Proteinex. If you remember the brand Proteinex, right?
Yes.
Proteinex is from Pfizer, by the way. So they had the technology, which was again peanut protein those days. It changed, but originally it was all peanut protein. But making a peanut protein is the most difficult thing actually among all the plant proteins, I mean, because it has a very high tendency to cake, form lumps and cakes, and very high moisture absorption capacity. So even if you keep it in an airtight container, it used to form lumps. So Proteinex had mastered the technology how to keep it lump free and all that, and then SmithKline Beecham also had that in our Nourish. But later in the last 20 years or 25 years, soya isoflavone started getting accepted in the medical fraternity. So there are 2-3 companies who brought in soy proteins, and then they also were able to successfully market it in the medical field. But the big change happened when significant amount of differentiation and segmentation happened, focus happened in medical. So earlier, for example, in the days of Protein X or Nourish, there was one protein. You had a Protein X, you give it to a cancer patient, or you give it to a nephrology patient, or you give it to some other TB patient, for example, immunocompromised patients, right? You gave the same Protein X. But later on, companies started segmenting the protein, even the medical protein market. You had a D protein for diabetes, P protein. Yeah. So you started segmenting the market and giving specialized.
But still using the same base?
With some amount of tinkering of the formulation.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how this industry evolved, the medical side of the industry. But in the last 10 years, the whey protein boom came with all the gymming and the health craze, and the new generation, which now still I think whey is the large chunk of the market. The bulwark is done by the whey. But we see in the last couple of years, the plant proteins slowly catching up. We are behind. I mean, India is always a follower. We have been very less an innovator, right? Particularly in the nutrition space, we follow the Western guidelines largely. So if you see, today we are at least about 10 years behind in terms of always we are behind in the wave. Unlike in the mobile where we catch up very fast. If you look at our protein consumption today, still we lag behind the Western world when they were already way ahead in terms of their protein consumption. In food, we are way behind because that's not a very kind of a high involvement purchase for many of the people. It's slowly changing. So we are still on the way when the Western world has moved from whey to, or significantly moving from whey to plant-based proteins, right? Our volumes of plant-based proteins are like peanuts now. I mean, in real sense. Look at it, we are, as a country, we are importing currently about 14,000 tons of plant proteins per year from China. A small few tons coming from maybe Canada or US, but which is predominantly soy. Little bit of pea and rice is there. For a population of 1.4 billion, we are importing around 20,000 tons of plant proteins. Okay. Just to give you a small context, a single plant in Singapore produces 200,000 tons.
So it's not wrong to say that we are quite deficient in protein in general.
Numbers say very clearly we are protein deficient. The thing is, unfortunately, we were looking at somehow filling our stomach.
Yes.
Our objective was always stomach full.
Yes.
The quality of the stomach full discussion started happening in the last few years. Still, majority of the population are not able to afford that also. But India has changed in the last 10 years, I would definitely say, where we don't have people going hungry. Today it's predominantly starch driven, right? So you're meeting the energy requirement for the day from whatever food your stomach is full, you are meeting the energy requirement. Are you nutrient sufficient? That is the next question which comes up. Slowly you see the upwardly mobile population in the cities, in the towns, they are looking at it. In the rural areas, slowly it will change. It will take time. 20,000 tons or whatever it is being imported. It should honestly be maybe 1 million tons or more for us requirement. The second challenge for us is we are not manufacturing. So we have a 50% import duty on proteins.
50% import duty on proteins.
Okay. Now, one is your price goes up. Just to give you a context, India is the global leader, is after China in pharma. We are exporting almost 80% of our US requirements in terms of formulations, which is much more complex technology. US FDA approved plants, all the CGMP requirements, huge complex chemistries, right, in API manufacturing, we are able to do that. If you compare to that complexity of manufacturing, protein manufacturing is not even 100th. It's a very, very simple process.
Okay.
The challenge here is, one, the domestic demand has to come up. Second, we need some big investors to come in. Unfortunately, government is also like, I'm not against it, but today what's happening is money is getting wasted. For example, I give a grant to a startup, 30 lakhs, typical, okay, I'm just taking some number. What do you do with the 30 lakhs? Can you put up a plant? No. So what will the startup do? Is there a plant where they can go and manufacture in India with the 30 lakhs? No. Then what do? They just keep in the lab telling I'm researching.
Okay.
2 years passes away. All the money is used in their salaries. Out of 100 people who got a government grant, maybe 10 will get a funding from a PE or something. The PE invest because he says, okay, let me just try. Then maybe 5 crores, 3 crores, 2 crores. With 2 crores again, you can do nothing in proteins. Okay. So what happens is you are only wasting time and money. And we have already 10 years now. You tell me one manufacturing company which has come up through the startup ecosystem in India manufacturing proteins commercially today.
I have no idea.
There's none.
There's nobody. So there is literally nobody. Even the whey, we are the largest milk producer in the world.
We don't manufacture.
We do not make, we import our whey.
We import our whey.
which is why whey protein in general is so costly.
So cost because there is the cheese manufacturing industry is very big. We have a paneer manufacturing industry which is very big.
Yeah.
But we need to be able to tap it. Unfortunately, we are not tapping it. The challenge is, and is it very complex technology? It's a very, very simple technology. After whey, the water,
Yes.
you just need to filter it.
Yes.
And concentrate and dry it. The challenge here is there's a need for a change in the mindset. First, protein is a high capex game. The minimum global standards, what they say is you need about 50,000 square feet of manufacturing space to start with a good protein manufacturing. You need about 10 crores for that. For the built up space, surrounding land and utilities and all that. 30-40 crores is the minimum investment you will start with in any protein plant. You give 30 lakhs to a startup and say you come up with a protein plant, it will all be in paper. I am not able to see any commercial coming.
Yeah.
There are one or two guys who raised significant amount of funds, close to 18-20 crores. They didn't do anything, they didn't bring out anything commercially, they didn't sell. What happened to all the funds? I mean, you can keep telling I kept this R&D, I keep shifting the goal post. I started with this protein, now I left it, I went to next protein, I left it, I next protein. Hey, you don't need to all this. You know what is the global market. Now, number one selling is pea protein, soya protein, maybe fava bean protein, chickpea protein. Take one and manufacture, right? You don't need to say that I tried to manufacture, chickpea protein for 5 years. I spent all this money, now I am raising fund again, I'll try to develop process for pea protein. I mean, these are all available off the shelf.
Do we not need to license that?
If it is patented.
Okay.
It is off patent, you don't need to license.
Okay.
Correct? Now, this process for a pea protein is not patented. Right? Why don't you do it? The thing is, in pharma, for example, I'm taking, because it's a similar industry in terms of process wise, market wise, regulation wise. They had industrialists getting into the industry.
Okay.
It was not funded startups who are blowing away money. Here, it is hyped up startups who are blowing away money. That's the difference. There, people are serious about the money, about industry. I'm putting up a plant, right, with my hard-earned money. I'm putting up a plant, I'm going to manufacture and sell. So, that is the challenge we are facing in India. I mean, we are not having dearth of talent. Superb talent is available, technology is available, machinery available. New investors are not getting confidence.
So the pharma industry is filling an actual medical requirement. And while the protein industry, nutrition is a requirement, it's just not as visible.
Absolutely.
As an issue.
Absolutely. See, for example, you need to create awareness. I mean, someone has to come and tell me you are protein deficient. I need to realize I am protein deficient. Then I need to realize what happens if I am protein deficient. Then I need to realize what protein I need to take. Then I have to go to for buying protein. Okay, that's one general public. There's significant amount of the population which is already aware. Even if it is 1% of 1.4 billion, it's a huge market. You just take any gym, or maybe 100 members, out of which maybe 10 or 20 would be taking proteins. Take the young population who are like fitness conscious, they are all on proteins. They're taking whey or some other plant protein, pea with rice, whatever it is. That is the Indian target. Forget India. Where is India in pharma? We are exporting. We are the world's largest exporter of formulations to US, Europe, Africa, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Latin America. Why can't you do that for proteins? You don't only target Indian market, it will become a market, but export it, right? You need a serious investment coming in, which is few 100 crores,
Why isn't that money coming in? Because we have the base material. We are the largest lentil producer in the world.
Absolutely.
We may not be the largest soy producer in the world, but we have good soy as well.
Yeah.
We have naturally non-GMO soy.
Yeah.
So
we need some serious industrialists to come in. Somehow I have tried. While I have been successful to convince a US Saudi royal family of the technology and the potential, Indian industrialists, unfortunately, till now I have not been able to convince. They are not coming up. What I am getting is like small startups want to just sustain for 2 years. They'll say, okay, to show something, I will come and develop some process here. Okay, my process development cost me 28 lakhs minimum. Okay, which is their total funding, right? So it doesn't work. While the market is there, everyone realizes this is the world of proteins. Everyone says India is a protein deficient country. Everyone sees the gap in the protein consumption. Market is there. And also the potential for India to be a global leader as an exporter of proteins with such a huge agricultural base and technology being there, machines being here, people being talented. Even when I present a plan, for example, like 60 crores, right? Somehow they have not been able to take a final call, take a decision. Okay. And there's a very clear business case where we say there's an EBITDA, for example, of around 20%. EBITDA 20% in 3 years' time and scaling up hugely, being a global leader. It's a very good business case. And genuine business case with clear detailed numbers, including manufacturing, selling price, everything. And these are verified numbers with market figures. What price people are buying proteins at. Everything is there. We need right investors in this. Otherwise, this will be a game where we are just beating around the bush and not taking any concrete move. We are importing protein from China. Do we test the protein we are importing? No. Because it's being imported by the distributors, right? The test we do is usually Geldal. And who imports this first? It is imported by a distributor. And there are 2-3 big distributors in India. In my knowledge, largely they don't do the testing. They go by the COA given by the Chinese supplier. The certificate of analysis. It says it's 90% protein. They believe it is 90% protein and they sell it to the formulation company. For example, I am a formulation company who is making, for example, a plant-based protein bar. I'll buy pea protein from a distributor who says this is 90% protein. I will use it. Now the testing cost may be around 1,000, 1,500 time. None of these distributors, I don't think they are testing every batch. Most of these food companies, product companies, nutrition companies, most of them don't test. Most of them. Even if they test, we use something called as Geldal. The Geldal doesn't show you what is the quantity of protein actually. It is an indirect way of measuring protein. It says what is the nitrogen content in the material. So you say so much is the nitrogen content, so much is the protein. By the way, if someone adds some amount of urea in it, that will also show nitrogen. Then the next level, which is real protein analysis, which takes few thousands, which no one is able to afford. Even this 1,000, 1,500 people don't spend on a Geldal analysis. Forget real protein analysis. Second, US and Europe or the Western world or in Southeast Asia, they are currently also importing from China. They are actively looking for alternative to China. I have got 2 visitors from US, the largest distributor from US, visiting me telling, please, if you can let me know if you can manufacture pea protein for me. I don't have that capacity. He told, can you scale up fast? I don't have the funding. The Western world is very wary of buying food and pharma from China. They want serious, good quality alternatives. They are looking at India as a very good alternative and we are not stepping up. And that is the big pain point. We need investors with capacity of at least about 100 crores plus. Then we make a global impact.
Okay. But investors are also probably looking at the consumer market where they see a tiny sliver of the population willing to buy something like a whey protein or a pea protein, which are expensive.
Correct.
That is, in some cases, they are as 1 kg of that protein is as expensive as monthly food bills.
Correct.
So let's be honest, we are still a very poor country. Or the market is not ready for it yet from just a cost perspective, but also we have issues with protein right now, particularly plant protein, where taste is still a bit of an issue, texture is a bit of an issue.
The quality of proteins we are using is bad. I'm being very blunt in this. We are running behind price. Pea protein, I'm not naming the company, from a US company, doesn't have the bitter taste, doesn't have the off notes, doesn't have the chalky feeling, doesn't have the pea note. Super tasting. It's as good tasting as a whey protein.
Okay.
But it's available at, for example, at around 900 rupees or 700 rupees. Okay, what I'm telling. The Chinese pea protein is available at 400 rupees. So what people are doing, bring the Chinese one at a lower price, put in the market. 2 things you are doing by this. You are killing the market. Same pea protein, I'm challenging you, go to Europe and eat. you'll find the taste is very good. The same Chinese manufacturer who supplies to Europe supplies a different quality and supplies a different quality here, depending on the price you are giving. The American company, which is a market leader, selling the best quality pea protein with the best taste, is also getting manufactured from China. But they use a different process. I mean, more expensive process, more lengthier process. See, it's all about how much you purify.
Yeah.
Where do the half notes come from? From the phytic acids, phytates, all those additional compounds. You remove them. When you remove them, you incur some amount of additional cost. But still, your plant protein is much more economical than a whey protein.
Right.
The whey protein current import prices in India are around 2,500 rupees per kg. I'm talking raw material price. I'm not talking about the finished product price. A good quality pea protein, which tastes neutral, 90% pea protein, which is tasting neutral, no off note, no pea notes, costs you 900 rupees. From an affordability point of view, this is more affordable than a whey protein.
So what's the problem?
The problem is our formulators here, instead of going for the 900 rupees, they buy this 400 rupees one.
So whey is competing with the low quality pea protein, which is why the taste also becomes an issue? Okay.
So you need someone to come into the market with a good quality pea protein. Change the game. You are competing against whey. You have a huge price gap. You bring the 900 rupees pea protein. No, why do you want to bring the 400 rupees pea protein and compete in the market?
Right.
This is short-sightedness. Because consumer what he sees, oh, pea protein, plant protein will not taste good.
Yeah.
Come on, bring the best quality plant protein. I know of a plant protein, and without exaggeration, it tastes exactly like whey. It costs around 1,500 rupees. Okay? It's 2,500. Even if whey was 1,500, which is the lowest price whey was about 1 year back, same price, but it's a better protein, healthier protein, safer protein, people would have accepted. Consumer first time taste, texture. If he sees first time my taste was bad when I am taking a protein, I have put off after that. I will not try it again.
Yeah. However good it is, that you've lost that
They
consumer.
have lost my confidence. That we are actually doing a disservice to the industry by doing all this. We need we need some serious investors. What happens? It's not like you bring a good priced, good quality product at a good price. It is not going to take off like that. You need some serious consumer awareness, branding awareness to take to the market. The gestation period may be about, instead of making quick money immediately, you may take 6 months, 1 year.
Right.
But 6 months, 1 year, you need to invest in the brand building, in trials, in product, and then in 1-2 years, then you create a brand which is superb, right? Which can compete with, which can be even better than whey protein. And it is possible. You have a formulation, for example, a protein drink with 100% plant protein, which is better than whey protein. I can do that. But we need that kind of mindset, people coming with that mindset to put that money.
Right.
Unfortunately, being frank, I am not seeing people with it. We need to switch completely from this price discussion to quality and delivery discussion. You are currently at the beginning of a market. The price will be high. As the volumes go up, your price will come down, then everyone will be able to afford. But if you are not able to scale up the volume, you will never be able to bring the affordability. You need to start somewhere.
Right. We talked about like the general challenges for India. Where does APIC come in?
It started because I was in the protein industry. I was part of a startup 2 times where we found huge challenges in getting scale up. A lab, you can do anything. What you do in a lab and in a beaker funnel and what you do in a machine, there's a huge difference. It's very difficult to replicate the lab things in a machine, you know that, right? And then getting those real outputs in a big machine and all those challenges. So when I was part of a startup, we found it extremely difficult to find a place where we could do our pilot batches. Even globally, when we tried, there were only 2 or 3 facilities which offered these facilities. One in France, one in Netherlands. Recently, one has come up in US, but they are also super expensive. If you go for a process development there, it would cost you like 2-3 crores. Then they were also not comprehensive end to end. Like they would have some part of the facilities, some part may not be there. that is the time when I realized, okay, when I am facing so much challenges when I want to do some scale up, why don't I give this as a service to the industry? So we put up APIC, which is basically what is a contract research and manufacturing unit for alternative protein industry, where we are helping people right from lab scale up to semi-commercial scale. Like our capacity currently is we can do about 300 kgs of protein per day. I would not say semi-commercial, pilot scale currently, but we are soon moving to a semi-commercial scale where we will be able to do up to 1 ton per day proteins, plant proteins, finished product. And in the last 2 years, it has been a very successful, enriching journey, I would say, because we have been able to meet the requirements for almost close to about 20 clients globally. Some of them from India, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Singapore, US, France, Israel.
And these are large-scale companies, or are they mid-sized?
2-3 of them were large-scale companies. 3 of them were large-scale companies. The rest were small.
Okay.
But they wanted something unique. They wanted some unique capabilities which we had. Incidentally, all of them visited here personally. Some of them, by the way, we also served a customer from South Africa. Very interesting. There was a completely different offbeat product, protein again. And that product which, for example, we developed in South Africa, they were a mid-scale company, already existing company in South Africa. They came here, they did a product development, they did everything live here, took the product, went. They even made a small commercial batch and took it with them. So they can first test in the market. The product became so successful, it is a very high selling product now in South Africa.
Are you able to tell us?
Sorry, I'm not currently, yeah.
Can you give us an idea of what the product is?
It was a beverage which was enriched with protein.
Okay.
A protein-rich beverage, but doing extremely well in South Africa. Now, the thing is, we have been able to meet these requirements across the globe. Not across the globe, but at least select handful of 10-15 countries other than Indian companies. Indian companies less actually. We have served maybe 2-3 companies in India. The reason is, one, they come with a particular price point in mind which doesn't work out, honestly. To maintain a facility, having all the investment to take care of this, it doesn't. Even the power bill comes to me they will not be able to meet it, right? As I told you, they get a 20 lakh or 30 lakh funding. They'll say, okay, 2 years I'll take salary of 25 lakhs, 5 lakhs I'll use for product development. That's one of the challenges. We have not been able to serve Indian companies a lot, but there are few we have served. And then that's also the reason why my response to Indian companies has been a little bit restricted, because in the initial interactions you get a feeling what they are looking for, and when we upfront say, sorry, we cannot meet your expectations from a price point of view. But that's been exciting because we have been able to work across various streams. So we have worked with pulses, lentils, we have worked with leaves, we have worked with foliages, vegetable foliages, right? The agri waste, water lentils, alfalfa. We also work with some kind of insect proteins, fungal proteins. So we have worked with a wide range of proteins from ingredients to finished products. Okay, beverages as well. So that gives us a lot of satisfaction. And some of the products, as I told you, we developed are doing well. Particularly, for example, the water lentil product we did is doing very well globally. I told you about a beverage which we did is doing extremely well in South Africa. And that keeps driving us and keeps bringing the commercials also, because that keeps the team going. Otherwise, we need to keep the team well, pay them well, and retain a good team, because this lot of know-how is there which keeps building up over a period of time.
So right now this is the service that you're offering to anyone who comes to you.
Yeah.
And so does that mean that you're also playing with flavors and other ingredients and formulations for the final product as well?
Yes. Yeah. We have a project where we are working on range of tea with a plant-based ingredient. This is an instant tea. It is going to be an instant tea with range of with multiple flavors, like 20 different flavors with a particular plant-based ingredient. So we have already developed it. So we use the different flavors,
Right.
other ingredients and natural flavors. We are not using any chemical flavors. So we are developing almost 20 different flavors. We have developed it, by the way. So we are in testing phase. So we should be able to launch it, give it to the customer in about 15 days time.
That's actually quite unique because a lot of people find tea and plant-based milk don't really gel well.
Yeah. Right. So we are solving that problem. You don't need to mix milk. You don't need to mix water. You don't know what proportions to do. Nothing. You just put this powder into the water.
Okay.
Stir it, boil it, or use it in hot water. You have a ready tea, which is as good as
Regular tea.
regular tea. In any flavor, you want a elaichi tea, which is plant-based. You have elaichi tea with plant-based.
Huh. Is this for an Indian?
This is an
audience?
Indian company. This is an Indian company. This was an Indian company, but they are targeting export markets also.
Okay.
But currently, it's an Indian company.
That would be an interesting product to see. I don't know how much you can share with us, but what is your innovation process like?
It's very intense. So it starts with basically mapping the customer requirement first. If it is a plain ingredient, first, for example, someone says, I want to develop a protein. There could be various levels. Someone says, I want a 50% protein. Someone says, I want a 90% protein. And there's in between, there's a huge variation like 60, 70, 80. What is the target you want to reach? What is the raw material? Then we say, what is the characteristics you are looking for? You want a color, for example, you have a white color or off-white color you want to reach. For example, you have a leaf protein, Rubisco. Usually it comes green. There's a client who comes and says, no, I want this to be white. Then that's our end point. Then we have other characteristics like it should be chemical free, right? It should be solvent free, clean label. Or is it okay if some solvent is used? So it all starts with the end market and the customer specifications. They're mapping their requirement. Then we go to our process design. Almost significant amount of time goes in literature search for us, right? Secondary research where we really do deep technical and lot of things has been done in the world. Most of the time you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You may need to improve on what is there. That's a different thing. But base would largely be there in the secondary research. And that is something which we take very seriously. Then once we know, okay, broadly this is what we could do, then we look at what kind of machinery we have most of the things. Sometimes we may not have a particular machine which we need for that process. Then again, some amount of research is required. Can we do it in India or we need to import it? Most of the time, import is also not easily available. We also have a good network of fabricators. So we try to understand what is the configuration of the machine, try to fabricate it here. Okay. That takes some amount of time working with the fabricator for the machine, then going to the process. So once our foundation is right, like your secondary research, your machinery component, your fabrication, everything, your process becomes relatively easier. Then it's about fine-tuning the process and adding on to the process, which you have done through secondary research on the field. So we try out those things. It takes, again, secondary research, primary research. Usually this process takes about 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
To arrive at because the permutation combinations are large. While I told you that protein is the most simplest thing, the variables you need to map. For example, for pulverizing, you can achieve different particle sizes, which can affect your extraction or filtration. And what speed at what temperature you pulverize, how much temperature you control there, what is the particle size, everything matters. Second, you look at how do you extract. At extraction, the temperature, the water volume, the pH, the speed of the agitator, the time, how much time you are reacting, the enzymes which you add. Each of these variables can vary 10 times, right? So your multiples permutation combinations comes to few thousands, right? But you don't try all the 1,000, but you start narrowing down slowly, and maybe you narrow down to 10 to 20 variables. Then that 20 bring down to 10, then to 5, then to finally 1 or 2 variables. It takes about 4 to 6 months to really get a right process. It's an existing product. For example, pea protein. You want to achieve 80%. It's not rocket science. You have everything. Maybe in a month you will have the process.
Okay.
Right? If you come with a completely new thing, for example, someone says, I want to take protein out of a beetroot leaf. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Right? all the beetroot leaves are being discarded. I want to take protein out of a beetroot leaf. It may take about 3 to 6 months for me to develop a complete, robust process, repeatable process. It's not happened that once I have somehow by hook or crook we have got it.
Right.
It's a process when you say it is repeatable, scalable, right, giving the same consistent output, right, then it takes about 3 to 6 months.
What you make in the lab settings is not always identical when you expand it to a large scale.
No,
amount.
it is not.
So that means that there are tweaks that you have to make to the final process so that the large scale manufacturing also has the same parameters.
Absolutely, yes.
So that also is part of figuring out.
Exactly.
Like, that's part of the research of.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How long does that take?
That
And what
would-
does that involve?
See, it involves a lot of understanding of process, machinery and tooling, configuration of machinery. Simple things, for example, in a lab you will heat in a beaker. You keep it on a hot plate, right, with a magnetic stirrer, for example. Once you go to a pilot plant, you will have a reactor. The reactor, the heat is in the jacket. You're not keeping it in the base, right? Here it's a plate which is heat, right? It's like an induction stove.
Yeah.
There, the jacket has the heat. The whole material is being heated. Here, it only from the bottom the heat is coming. There you have some magnets inside stirring. Here you have an agitator which is stirring, right? Here you cannot control the speed of the magnet. There you can control the speed of the agitator, right? Everything makes a difference. Then from pilot to commercial manufacturing, again it's a big difference because you will automate a lot of things. What you do here manually will be automated. For example, in a pilot plant, my heating is localized. In a commercial plant, I'll have a centralized heating, steam generated. How do you control the steam flow? How do you control the steam temperature? How do you control the pressure? From lab to pilot is a big difference. From pilot to commercial is less difference. It's more of how do you automate it. That's why I told you it takes about 3 months, 6 months for you to figure that out.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you my first experiments a few years back. I started with something called as brewer's spent grain, BSG. It has supposed to have 20% protein. In software industry, they say we started from a garage. So I had a small lab in my bedroom, where I had a table, beaker, funnel, everything. I got this brewer's spent grain from one of the big distributors. I got those 2-3 varieties, one fine variety, one coarse variety, and took it to the lab and at home. I did the process. Within 1-2 days, I could optimize the process. I got a superb protein. I tested myself, took it to a lab, those days I didn't have a gel. So I took it to a lab. He told, sir, you got 90% protein. Wow! I was like super thrilled. I thought, okay, I have a great idea, I have a great process. The same thing when we got to the machine, it didn't give the result. Now I know how to figure it out. But if you look at those days, my early days, when I myself was trying to figure out things, it's not, it becomes a huge difference. In the machine, it didn't give me 60%. The same 90% which I achieved in this, I didn't get 60% also here. But then once we optimized the parameters in the machine, it took me 1 or 2 months, we could achieve that 90% here. But it takes time.
Yeah.
That time, the 2-3 months is required for your optimizing your machine performance to your lab process.
The folks that you work with, do a lot of them understand this time that it takes to actually
Some of
find
them, few of them actually, not all. One project which I told them it will take 3 months, it took me 1 year. But the person was patient and it was an Indian project. So it took almost 1 year for us to deliver the final perfect product. Today he is able to go and raise funds with investors with that prototype. In fact, he has come back to develop some more finished product from us. Some customers understand it, but many people come with a short mindset. They say, give me the process, how long will it take? Okay, 3 months, 4 months. Oh, can we not get it in a week? Even if I try to reason out with them telling, So many parameters are there. Each parameter with multiple permutation combinations, it takes time. Sometimes they understand, sometimes they don't understand. Honestly, today, it was early days when we used to bother. I mean, I used to be concerned because we need to build a business, right? We are struggling and you need to feed the team, meet your expenses and all that. Today, we have slowly stepped up, but we are able to sense what the customer is looking for. If they're looking for very shortcut solutions, if it is for feasible, fine. But if it's not feasible, we say no. We don't entertain. We say very clearly, sorry, this is not what we can do. We cannot deliver this. These are our criteria. If you are willing to work on this criteria, we are fine. We are willing to support, but not doing some shortcuts. That's not what we want to do.
Right.
Then they also understand, they go to some other place, which is fine. I got a client who left us last about 10-15 days back. He came with a kind of a plant-based amino acid. He came to us by referral of a government research institution who are into proteins, but they don't have all the facilities, so they referred him to us. This client is well funded. The government research institution had developed the process incidentally. This guy has paid that institution to get the technology. And the technology was to be demonstrated here. And since that institution had developed it in a lab scale, they wanted some machines where it can be demonstrated. I told, okay, I quoted, because it's only not my process, you are only going to come and use the machine. It was a very low cost. You are only hiring my facility. I am not the technology provider. The product did not come as expected. He was upset. Our capabilities are very clear. It will take 2-3 months for us to refine a process. If you are willing to wait, you wait. We cannot do shortcuts. We lose customers, fine. We cannot do anything. As I told you, we have slowly moved away from that where we have to satisfy every customer. It's not possible.
What are some of the other kinds of challenges that you see? Money is, of course, an issue, but
those are things which are part of the game.
Yeah.
The other challenge which I face is the people, getting good quality people, young guys who come with passion, who come with knowledge, who come with an eagerness to learn and develop. That's something which I'm finding it challenging. Sourcing some of the ingredients becomes a challenge.
Right.
Not that all the ingredients are available easily. Some enzyme, some process material becomes a challenge. Third is the machinery fabrication. As I told you earlier also, sometimes we need to fabricate some machines which are, or a process which is very unique to a particular product. You need to explain what you need to the fabricator. You need to sit with him to fabricate that particular machine, to make some alterations, adjustments, fine tune the machine and bring it to this requirement. That takes some, because many of the time the machine fabricators are also like, they go by their experience. Many of the machine fabricators, you will be surprised to know, are not qualified. They just come by experience. So for them, when you tell something new, it takes time for them to absorb and do. Some are extremely good. We have extraordinary talent in machine fabrication. Still there are some blocks sometimes, and that to overcome that block, to make them realize, okay, I want this change to happen, it takes some time.
Let's call it the protein ecosystem. To create that, you not just need actual raw materials, you also need access to machinery, access to people who can tweak machinery as and when needed, easy access to the various ingredients like enzymes and whatever else you need to actually create the process, time, space.
Yeah.
So building that ecosystem is in itself a challenge.
Absolutely.
And having and you have set up this center quite far from the city.
Yeah, it's about 60 kilometers from the city.
Yeah.
The benefit we have is, while we are about 60 kilometers from Bangalore, the largest industrial machine manufacturing cluster in India, one of the largest, is Pune. I'm not.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if you know that Pune is a hub of machinery manufacturing.
Yeah.
All you name the type of tooling required, type of machinery manufacturers required is available in Pune. Some of the machinery manufacturers are in Pune and Bombay, Ahmedabad, Baroda. While we are far away from Ahmedabad, Baroda, the machinery manufacturers, we work very closely with them. They are able to fine tune and give. Some of them are in Chennai, by the way. Incidentally, there is one particular type of machinery which is used in this industry. There is no one else who makes it except in Chennai, in India. Yeah. So it's for us not very far. It's easy to coordinate with them. I'll give you a live example. I have a project from a Saudi company. It's a project where I need a particular machinery which is not used in the protein industry currently.
Okay.
And that machinery is used in a different industry today. I have to fine tune that machinery to make it suitable for this protein industry. In that, there is a particular type of nozzle which has to be altered. I spoke to some other companies, for example, Chinese. They told this is something which we have not done and it will take time. We don't have time for it. This is a small project. We don't want to waste time. As simple as that they told. The Chennai-based company, they came forward. They have been able to make this alternative, making a tweaking in the machine nozzle to meet the requirement.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, this will be the first time in the protein industry, in my knowledge, where this machine I'll be fine tuning for protein manufacturing.
Okay.
Correct. So these are like some things which are very unique to our ecosystem. We say Indian jugaad.
Yeah.
Right? It's a positive thing.
Yes.
This Indian jugaad is a positive thing. It helps a lot. One more thing which I do is most of the machines we bring here and fabricate in front of us.
Okay.
So we call the fabricator, we tell them, come on, I'll give you all the facilities, sit here and fabricate. So I'm able to see what you're doing. Some unique project comes where we need some unique product, then we do that. Ecosystem is good. Talent pool is there, but talent pool is not trained in the right direction. For example, I'll just tell you, there are so many biotechnology students passing out. But if you ask them to handle critical lab processes, they are not aware. They are not been trained in the college for those. So they have to be retrained.
Right.
They have to be retrained and it takes time. There are companies, for example, biotech companies who are doing other things. They are not doing proteins, right? For them to bring to this, again, some amount of reorientation, retraining is required, right?
Yes.
So those things happen. That's why I told you the people challenge. We have a good English knowledge with the team. So what happens when you do secondary research, most of the data is in English. They are able to grasp well. So even if they don't do well, they don't know something. If I give them telling, okay, I'm giving you 3-4 days, do all the secondary research, tell me about what is available on this. Then they'll come with some raw data. Then how to make sense of the raw data will be left to us, right? Which we do. But still it's okay.
Okay. What are some of the benefits of actually doing this kind of production in India?
Biggest benefit I would say is the cost. Okay. Second biggest benefit would be the quality.
Okay.
Okay.
So when you say cost, how much are we talking?
We are working on a protein which is currently being made in China. Their cost of manufacturing is $13 per kg.
Okay.
Our initial evaluation and the trials, we have proven that we can do the same at around $7.
Okay, so half the price.
And when you look at the volume multiple, it's huge. So cost is a major factor for us. India, see, why did we succeed in pharma? We had a very strong cost position in pharma. Today we are the world's largest formulation supplier, right? Generics.
Yeah.
Why did we succeed in generics? China also has generics. The reason is, why is India the largest generic supplier to US? Because we have a very strong cost position with good quality. Same in proteins, we can have a good cost position with a good quality. People are looking for innovative protein sources. Right? India has a huge biodiversity. We have almost 40 different pulses and lentils. Protein rich leaves, rich in Rubisco proteins. We have about 10 to 15 good varieties. No other country has this kind of rich biodiversity which we have in terms of natural resources, which can be ingredients for the proteins. That's something which we can offer to the world.
what are some of the kinds of plant-based protein that you see have a lot of potential?
Honestly, in India, every plant-based protein has a huge potential. I'm not even talking about the lower end of the society where there are economic issues. I'm talking only the affluent population. Upper middle class and above, huge. Every house I talk to, someone is protein aware now. Some child, son, daughter, they are telling I need to take protein.
Okay.
My daily protein consumption is less. It's a big thing now.
Okay. So there is awareness growing.
Yes. We need to address that. We need to give them the right options. If they get the right options, they will buy it.
Okay. Is there any ingredient that you are especially excited about?
I'm very excited about fungal proteins. One thing, because one, they give a natural texture, they give a natural flavor, the umami taste, because they come with the umami taste, which gives the meaty taste and flavor, and they have a fibrous texture which gives a natural meat texture, and they are 100% like all the amino acids. They are a complete protein, like animal proteins.
Okay.
So quality of protein is good, texture is good, taste is good, flavor is good.
Okay.
Price point will be much lesser could be lesser than even plant proteins.
So when you say fungal proteins, are you talking about the yeast-based proteins that are slowly starting to come up?
Yeast is something which I'm still keeping my fingers crossed about because it's growing very fast currently. My concern is usually yeast is a brewer's spent yeast.
Okay.
You don't do fermented yeast, protein is very less. They take the brewer's spent yeast and then purify and give. Chances are very high. So I still remain keeping my fingers crossed till I'm able to be 100% sure that it's a fermented yeast. I mean, exclusively fermented yeast for biomass fermentation for protein extraction. Okay. If that happens, I'll be happy.
Okay.
But till then, fungal protein is something which I'm looking at. But when you go for fermentation, your cost goes up.
Right.
Fermentation is expensive.
Right.
Let's be very clear. Like any bioproduct. A fermented yeast protein will be very difficult to give at this price points. The next level, higher level, I'm more excited about indigenous pulses, lentils from India. Particularly, I'm very excited about one or two pulses which only India has, or one or two countries in and around like India have, which have the protein quality which is the best in the world. The protein quality can be taste, texture, and the quality of protein is on par with whey protein.
Okay.
So that is something which excites me from Indian pulses.
What kind? What are these?
Some of these Indian pulses. Okay, we have developed some, but those are two aspects where I'm excited. One, because that pulse is a climate resilient. Even if there is drought, rain doesn't come 1 or 2 months, the crop survives.
Okay.
Okay, and it's low cost compared to the other pulses.
So what do you think about the cultivated meat then? Is that a better?
It's a very good thing. We need cost.
Yeah.
But the challenge is the price points. The broth or the growth media is very expensive. There are people working on trying to reduce the cost of the growth media. Again, the growth media comes from an animal-based source. Currently, they're trying to find a non-animal-based sources for the growth media. Till the cultivated meat comes to a correct price point, it's extremely difficult. I find fungal proteins to be a good alternative to cultivated meat because they're again like cultivated. It's like animal. Fungus stands at the border of animal and plant kingdom. So fungal protein the characteristics are similar to animal protein, but the cost is much lesser, much lesser.
It's easier to grow.
Easier to grow. So I would think fungal protein would be a better answer than the animal protein.
Right.
The
Cell.
cultivated meat. I think so.
Is India open to it?
There are some discussions going on, but still India has not approved it. Other countries have approved, like US, Singapore, Europe, they have approved. There are some objections from some European countries because the animal farming industry is objecting to it. For example, in Germany, I think the animal farming industry has objected to it. Germany or France?
Italy and France.
Italy and France. Yeah. They had some issues. But still, see, I don't know why the animal farming industry is objecting it there because the cost level is so high. They will never be able to meet this cost. The price points are very important. At that price point, currently, I don't see, at least in the next 5 to 10 years, them coming to the current price points. You need to be maybe, like for example, a kg of chicken sells at 300 rupees per kg. This should be at around maybe 400 also is fine. But if you say I'm bringing cultivated meat at 4,000 rupees, it's not going to work.
Would you expand into that at any point, or is your focus
My
only?
focus is on two things. One is plant-based, any alternative protein, not plant, just including plant, algae, fungal. And second is on fermented biomass. So basically single cell proteins. There I see a potential because you're just cultivating in a fermenter, extracting it, drying it and powdering it. It's much more simpler. Here the advantage is you have a bigger protein mass at a much lesser price point. So that is something which would be interesting. But we are a contract research center, so anyone comes with that, but we don't have the facilities for cultivated meat. We have a plant-based complete extraction. So there we can do yeast, plant-based, algae, everything we can do, leaves, biomass.
People come here with algal protein.
Algal protein is good. My concern, I have developed 2 algal proteins for clients. Till now, I'm not able to see a commercial impact on that. The reason is scaling up. There are 2 ways. One is if you're cultivating it, right? For example, like spirulina cultivation. You need to have ponds where you're having aerated ponds and cultivating the algae and then harvesting it, drying it, and then going for protein extraction and all that. So cost is higher. The answer to that is whether we can do outsourcing, distributed cultivation, like tell the farmers collect from the ponds. You tell them, okay, you cultivate the algae, you collect and give it. We have tried that. The challenge there is contamination. So you have small snails coming inside, some insects in there. So when they collect from the ponds, all the contaminants come along with the...
Right.
And then the huge challenge is cleaning up that contaminants. So cost is a major challenge. If you cultivate man-made ponds, concrete ponds with aerator and all that, then your cost is high. If you harvest from the nature like in public ponds, contamination is high. So cost and contamination, and we are having that challenge till now. So algal protein, I am keeping my fingers crossed till we find a cost-effective, viable, non-contaminating. The other way around is you use some pesticide or something to kill all the snails and everything in those public ponds, which is again a disaster, public disaster, because you use some chemical or some pesticides or insecticide which will go into public drinking water or space, which is something which I cannot think of. So the biodiversity will be killed. So I'm not very sure about this algal thing till lot of exotic ideas keep coming. There was a client who came with a seaweed kind of thing. Again, contamination issues and heavy metal contamination. We have a large coastline. Where contamination is a major issue. We don't know how to control those things. There could be technologies we can explore, but we are still very early in that. It may take a long time.
When clients come to you with some of the more exotic proteins, or even maybe not as exotic, do you also tell them that this is not going to work because the taste will not be nice?
Even before we start the process, we say this may be challenging, this may not work. Because, for example, this algal protein, for example, there's a client who I told we are collecting from the wild. When they brought the first sample itself, I told them that, see, this is challenging because you have contamination, you have small snails all around and insects, and transporting, drying is a challenge, transporting is a challenge from various places. Commercially, I think it cannot be viable, but still the client went ahead. Okay, so that was their informed call. From a sound advice point of view, yes, we tell them very clearly that this is not going to work. Same with the taste also, but that we come to know at the end of the process. I had a protein, a particular source, which came with a very, very sticky kind of mouth. Whatever we tried, it was not going. We did all the best drying and everything and reprocessing everything. Kind of stickiness and chalkiness. I told this is something which cannot work in the market unless we add some excipients and try to make it alterate. Sometimes these things happen. We do share our feedback. I had a client from US. This client had a bio side stream valorization process where they want to extract protein from defatted seed. That seed itself is very bitter. When they came first itself, I told them that we can do debittering, but there's a limitation to what you can do debittering, right? How much of the bitterness component you remove and what cost you incur on the debittering, right? You can think of all these exotic ideas, but cost.
Pranesh, thank you very much for agreeing to talk with us.
Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure.